Work Session to order and welcome elected officials, Sheriff Gullidge, several others, but you're all special guests, and thank you for being here. I asked Lieutenant Daniel to bring forward the citizens wishing to speak list, and while he's doing that, if you can silence your noisemakers. And thank you. And we're very glad and honored to have Pastor Ron Cooper with us this morning from the Rock Church to open us with our invocation and our pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Lord, we ask your hand of blessing upon this meeting. We ask that you guide and direct this meeting so it is productive and balanced. Bless those that are a part of the decisions being made today with great wisdom and insight. Lord, I pray that their decisions be balanced with integrity and trust. Lord, I pray that you give us a great meeting today, Lord. God, that your hand is upon it. Lord, that things go good, that subjects flow quickly and freely. I pray your blessing upon all those who are in attendance today, and to everything today we give you thanks, for this is the will of God. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. That's beautiful, Pastor Cooper. Thanks for opening us in that way. The July 11th, 2017 work session minutes and also the board meeting minutes are available for review. We'll turn the floor over to Mr. Davis, who has a special announcement.
Just a quick announcement. Thursday evening, 6 o'clock, downstairs in the cafe area, we'll be holding a town hall meeting specifically for two things. One, to kind of recap the second quarter of this year, but also to solicit feedback from citizens, well, specifically post one, but anyone who cares to show about the budget and the millage rate, any of the things that we've discussed here today. And that'll be Thursday at 6 o'clock, and it'll go about an hour.
Thanks, sir. Under invited guests, we have none. Bid awards, discuss action to award the construction manager at risk contract to Turner Construction Company in the amount of $301,903 for providing construction services to the Adult Detention Center project. This is for the Paulding County Adult Detention and Law Enforcement Center. Ms. Pollard.
Good morning. This should make Sheriff Gullidge very happy. This is the third and the final participant that we'll have to award a contract to. Outside of, they will, after the design is done, they'll come back for a GMP and we'll have to award that, but there won't be any more participants. And it should also make a couple of you happy that we've gone through quite a selection process. This time we did first the project manager, and then we did where CPS was selected. Then we selected an architect, Wakefield and Beasley, and this is the contractor that will be working on the project. Turner Construction. They went through a review of 3 proposals. They had shortlisted to 2, interviewed those 2, and the selection was made to Turner. And the pre-design cost is what the amount before you today, to a total of $301,903. And then again, they'll be back in a few months with a maximum price.
Any question or discussion?
I think it was a good process. Tony and I were involved, and I appreciate the work from the Sheriff's Department, Tabitha, and everyone else involved. It was a good long process, but I think we did well. We ended up with 2 good folks there at the end.
We did.
And that's the direction the committee ended up coming to.
Just for the public's information, if you'd like, I'm sure Eric's with us today with CPS, that he would give you a timeline So what to expect, when to expect that maximum price, as well as when to expect construction to begin and a jail to be completed, if you don't mind.
Jared, thanks for being here.
Is there any questions?
Please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, it was a great process. We've got all the team members here. We have Amy Tisenchek with CPS, who is part helping administratively. We also have Gary Swiderski with Turner Construction here. He was very involved. One point of interest, we've pretty much have all the terms of this contract already negotiated out. We've got some fine things, a couple fine points to work on, but negotiated what we feel is during this process. We also, if you remember, we had them competitively bid their general conditions, which is the cost that it takes these construction managers at risk to do their services. Again, today's $301,000. That is the maximum that you will pay through this pre-construction period, which will probably take 6 to 8 months before we'll probably come back with a guaranteed maximum price. At that point, if we don't like it, we write the check for the 301 and everybody parts ways. It's never happened before. We do not feel that's going to be, but that's all we're obligated today is the $301,000. Again, I'll be glad to answer any questions, but again, what we do before we come to you with this is we negotiate the overall cost of all their staff in those interviews. We want to know who's on the team. We make sure that those team members that were at the interview are actually in their contract, and that we know the rates for all their employees, all their costs. So we've already negotiated all that out, actually to a point that was below our overall budget that CPS put together for the project. So we're very encouraged. Turner, great firm. Personally, I've worked with them for over 20 years. It's going to be a very, very successful project.
That's what we're looking for, just like the reservoir.
Yes, sir.
Successful and out in the open.
And one other point that was brought up through the whole thing, there is a link on the, I believe it's on the Sheriff's Office website now, fallingjail.com, kind of catchy, that you can actually click on, and it will give you up-to-date information, articles, anything that pertains to this project, photos, whatever the county and the Sheriff's Office feels comfortable sharing with the public, which is, again, whatever it is that the county would like to share. So it will be a link, I believe it's up now, very similar to the link that you have for the reservoir project.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mr. Johnson.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions? We'll move on to bid award number 2. Discuss action to award the contract for the construction of the Richland Creek Water Supply Program Finished Water Transmission Main Phase 1 project. Project number 17026-3804 to Garney Construction Company in the amount of $24,546,461. Ms. Pollard and Ms. Ashmore, answer questions on that.
Good morning. We had 5 companies participate. We are recommending, they are recommending award to the low bid, Garden Company, and I'll allow Kelly, if it's okay, Kelly's going to elaborate.
Thanks, Tabitha. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
We have a lot of great, exciting construction news from the site at Richland Creek. We recognize today, however, is a very full meeting for you, so we're going to provide an overall update of the overall program in one of your August meetings. But this is a very exciting time. If you recall, the one component of the overall program that's not yet under construction is the pipeline that transfers water from the plant all the way down here 13 miles to where it ties into the distribution system on Highway 278. And if you recall, we ran into an issue where the pipeline traveled through Dallas and the city requested a reroute. And so in order to start work on the remaining part of the pipeline, we broke this section of pipeline into 2 phases. So phase 1 goes about 11 miles. It leaves the plant, travels all the way along 61, and turns in on Wallraven Place. That's an 11-mile distance. And so since the design was done for that, we went ahead and took that out for bid. We had an estimate of $25 million for that section of pipeline. So you can see that this came in about $500,000 under that, so we're pleased with that. The other thing to point out is that the second place bidder was $24.8 million. So you only had about $300,000 on such a large bid. So that's good. That gives us confidence that this number is good. Also wanted to point out that Garney Construction, you may recognize them. They're the contractor that did the raw water pipeline that came from the Etowah River intake to the reservoir. Smaller project, but similar size, large diameter piping. They did a great job. Great quality control, great interaction with the surrounding public, and if you recall, they finished that project about 6 months ahead of time. So we're very excited to have them as the low bidder on this project. We feel confident that they'll do a very good job from a quality perspective. They'll do a good job interfacing with the neighbors, and they're anticipated to try and get this done even more aggressive than what we laid out in the schedule, which is great for everyone. The remaining 2 miles will be bid as a separate project, and that'll happen this fall as the design is finalized, and then the construction of these 2 pipelines will move in parallel. So any questions on the procurement process? As Ms. Pollard indicated, there were 5 bidders, so there was a lot of interest and a lot of aggressive pricing and interest in pursuing this, which was great to see.
That 11 miles, does that include the turn there at Walraven? Or
Yes, sir. It turns on Walraven and goes, I think, about 500 or so feet down. Well, maybe not that far, maybe 300 feet down Walraven. And that'll be the termination point, and then that'll be the connection for the Phase 2 contract that'll go through.
Okay. Thank you.
You want to go ahead and answer my question?
Yes, sir. It's under budget. we did send this to the Water and Sewer Advisory Board last week, and they approved it for recommendation.
So we're in good shape. Yeah, I see everyone approved it. I appreciate all their work too on the Water Sewer Board. I appreciate your work and Lori's. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. The first report from committees and departments will be from Mr. Terry Tibbetts, our Airport Director, to provide an annual update. Thank you for being here, Mr. Tibbetts.
Thank you all. This is one of the pleasant things that I get to do during the year when I get to come before you and highlight the positive things that have happened at the airport and discuss our plans going forward. So before I do that, I want to say just a few words about airports in Georgia. There are 159 counties in Georgia. There are only 107 public use airports, which means approximately 1 in 3 counties in the state of Georgia do not have a public use airport at all. So this 1/3 of the counties are at a huge disadvantage when it comes to trying to attract larger businesses that might have aviation as an important aspect. And probably anyone in the economic development business would tell you that having an airport in your county does benefit you when you're competing with these other 158 counties to try to attract a particular company to come and bring their operation to us. So according to the New Georgia Encyclopedia, when you exclude Hartsville, these 107 public use airports are responsible for about $2 billion in economic activity, 28,500 jobs, and $226 million in annual earnings. And to quote them, they say, public use airports enable local businesses to tap markets and attract commerce from outside the state, and they create economic activity and jobs while facilitating business growth. So we, of course, being pro-airport at the Paulding County Airport Authority, just want to highlight some of those positive things. A couple of you were at the June 29th Paulding County Airport Authority meeting where I gave a more detailed director's report. I'm going to give an abbreviated version of that for those of you that weren't there, just to highlight some of the positive things that have happened this year at our airport. The airport was well maintained, operated safely and efficiently. This is the overarching requirement that the FAA levies on a sponsor, and in our case co-sponsors, because we co-sponsored the airport together, the Airport Authority and the Board of Commissioners. So the fact that we maintained a safe and efficient airport is important to the FAA. But the specifics of that are all lighting systems are functional, the plumbing, mechanical, electrical systems are operational, elevator, fire extinguisher, backflow valves, communication system, navigation system, weather systems are all current on their inspections. Everything at the airport today is working, and that's extremely important. This is in spite of the fact that we survived a 120-acre forest fire that burned right up to the edge of the main taxiway. We had a $30,000 lightning hit. We had flood in the rental house, and we had a $25,000 sinkhole when we had a failure in one of our groundwater piping systems. So we've also successfully separated the complex and intertwined business relationship between the IBA and the Paulding County Airport Authority. And I think everybody, all of us, are satisfied with that accomplishment that we've made. That was challenging because those two organizations were very much intertwined, right down to who pays the power bills of which meters on the airport property. And we have now completely separated those two organizations, so there's no longer any direct business relationship between the two other than the intergovernmental agreement where we have established the funds that we're going to pay back to the IBA to satisfy all contractual agreements that we have between the Airport Authority and the IBA. We've also completely restored the terminal building to its original FBO functionality. As you recall, in 2013, there had been a construction project started there which placed the FBO essentially in a construction zone, and that languished because of the legal issues related to the commercialization that were taking place. And we had also had to give rent concessions to the FBO as a result of that. So we've now fully restored that portion of the terminal building back to its original configuration. In fact, we would argue to a better configuration because we got input from the FBO on how they would like to see that space put back together. And they're now very happy with their space. We've reinstated the rent to the full contract value, and we're moving in a positive direction on that. We had a major film starring Samuel L. Jackson that was filmed in the large hangar. That was quite a challenge logistically because we have started renting the hangar out to tenants to store aircraft in, so we had to make arrangements with each tenant to make sure that we were meeting our obligations to them. We had to have concessions from the filming company in the event of inclement weather, which we did have one day, that we would halt all production of the filming, which they didn't want to do, but they reluctantly agreed to do. And when the big rain came right in the middle of the filming, they honored their commitments. We were able to get all the aircraft back into the hangar so that they were protected. And then once the weather passed, we were able to move on. And the airport benefited about $10,000 from that 10-day period. So about $1,000 a day was generated for the benefit of the airport from that operation. We also had a Ford commercial that was filmed and several photo shoots that were filmed. So the airport has proven to be pretty photogenic this year, and we're very proud of that. We hosted countless educational, training, social events. We had the Paulding County School System Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math event out there. We've had helicopter training, motorcycle training, first responder training, weddings, birthdays, graduations, and social events. So we think of the airport in much the same way that we think of some of our facilities that are provided by Parks and Recreation, in that they are available to the citizens of Paulding County either at no cost if it's one of our first responder or governmental sister agencies, or very modest cost if it's private citizens who want to come in and have a birthday party there in the terminal. And if you haven't seen a 3-year-old in the middle of a birthday party when a big plane taxis up to the hangar, that's a pretty special event. So we invite Paulding County to come and take advantage of the facilities that we have available. The FBO had a good year. Fuel cells are up. Our new maintenance facility, Johnny Jenkins, he rents excess space for his overflow traffic from us in the big hangar. I went by today and counted. There were 4 aircraft in our hangar that are waiting in line for his services, and he's got 3 other aircraft in his hangar. So he's doing quite well. That represents about a month's backlog, which in this industry is outstanding. So Johnny has finished up his first year in business in Paulding County and is being successful, and we're proud to have him there. As far as grants, we received in FY17 at the very end of the year $770,411.50 in reimbursement grants for work that had either been completed or contracted for. So this is funding that is in effect reimbursement for funds that were already either spent or committed by the Paulding County Airport Authority. And we have tentatively been approved $858,334 in FY18 funding, and that's the subject of a later agenda item, so I'll save discussion on that until later. We invite the Board of Commissioners to participate as our co-sponsor in 3 general aviation projects that we currently have either ongoing or in the detailed planning phase. One is the terminal area expansion project, which is the apron and additional hangar space, parking space, and so forth, that is to the east of the main terminal building. That has been approved by Georgia DOT and FAA. Partial funding has already been received. Additional grant funding is expected on that. The Airport Parkway Extension is a joint project between the airport and the Board of Commissioners. So we continue to look forward to work together on that. And then, of course, our wildlife mitigation fence, our #1 safety priority for the airport. Our funding that we lost last year has been reinstated this year. So we have an opportunity to push that project forward again. And we look forward to working with you on that so that we get that established. The other thing that I'm supposed to do is give you a quick rundown of our budget. What have we spent? What are we going to spend? And I'm going to summarize that. We've got much more detailed information if you want it. Those of you that attend our meetings hear this discussed in more detail when we've got more time in the Paulding County Airport Authority. But I want to highlight that we ended the year FY17 with a negative $297,000, almost $300,000. That looks very bad, but keep in mind that our FY17 grant funding had not cleared as of that time. And in fact, as of today, still hasn't cleared, but we're in the final stages of getting that money to flow, and that will cover the shortfall that we have. That $297,000 is made up of $159,000 in environmental work that we had done by Michael Baker that the FAA is paying for in Supplement 1 of an FY13 grant. We have $60,000 in funds that are due to Holt Engineering, who is our current consultant for the year 10, our final year of the water quality monitoring project. So we're ready to pay them as soon as the money, as soon as the check clears the bank for our grant funding, and that'll get us back into a positive balance situation for the airport. So when you add in all of the grant funding that we expect or have tentatively been approved for us, we are projecting an operating budget this year of $2,101,545.50. And we believe that we're in good shape to meet that budget and have a good year coming up this year. And I've already talked to you a little bit about the 3 primary projects that we're going to be involved in. Everything else is going to be a continuation of what we've done in the past year. We are going to continue to operate a safe, efficient, beautiful airport facility, and we invite anybody in the county to come out and see what we've got and participate in your airport property. I'll be happy to address any questions.
Good report. And Terry and I spent some time together, Chairman Carmichael on Monday last week, and then again on Friday. Probably more time than we've spent together in a while. So I do appreciate the report, positive things, and thank you for your time today.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. The second report is from the Parks and Rec Department, both the county level and the city of Dallas. I'd like to inform you that Michael Justice's mom had a heart attack, and she was still in ICU. Oh, Michael's here. I thought Vicki was going to report.
No, sir. I made it in this morning.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I think Robbie's supposed to come up here, right, here with me as well. Y'all know him. I'll introduce him to you in just a second, but he is my counterpart from the city of Dallas, Robbie Bruce. We're here to talk about the concert opportunities that we've had in the past and some future opportunities as well. To take you back a little bit to the beginning of the budget crisis, one of the first things that happened with us is that the freebies that we had offered at the time, they had to go away. And those were costs that were associated with concerts, with the special events, types of things, the holiday activities, those sorts of things. I've got a couple of staff people here with me I need to mention first. They're probably going to not like this, but Ms. Vicki Williams is the superintendent of programs and special events, and Alex Wilson is the superintendent of our athletic programs. He does those types of events while Vicki does the other ones. So if I'm not here and you guys need something, then those two can certainly help you, probably more so than I can when it comes to those. Anyway, those concerts.
You know, I've used Alex. We've been to dealing with a couple times together. He's great. I really appreciate you, Alex.
Thank you. Those things went away. And through the efforts of Ms. Williams, through the cooperation of sponsors such as the Chamber of Commerce, who we're involved with this year and have been in the past, through partnerships with metro area radio stations that you might be familiar with, B98.5, Star 94, those concerts and those movies, we've been able to continue, through a cooperative partnership with those. So, Mr. Powell, ask me that budget question if you would.
You know what the question is, so how are we?
Yes, sir. We have spent $0 on that. There's $0 in our special events category for sponsorships in this year's budget today because of those partnerships, and we're very thankful for those. Staff hours aren't even included in that because our staff is accustomed to working different shifts. We're going to do a 40-hour week, but a lot of those 40 hours are done, the old adage there in Parks and Recreation is that we work so that you can play. So that, our guys may not come in until 12 o'clock and be there until 9 o'clock that evening. That's part of their 40-hour work week schedule. So their schedule is placed for those concerts as well. So we're doing those things because of those cooperative efforts at zero cost of those. When we do that, then we're able to continue to offer those for free. Now, as far as Paulding County Parks and Recreation, then that's the direction that we'll continue to go, until y'all tell us differently. The city of Dallas has been able we've worked with the city of Dallas to be able to do some other things that are maybe a little bit higher scale than those, and I won't try to tell you what that is. That's what Robbie's going to do, following up here behind me. So again, we certainly appreciate your efforts. We appreciate our sponsors for allowing us to continue to do that, and we hope that we can continue to do it again next year. We're good for this year, but we hope that we can do it again next year. So thank you, all for allowing us that. Mr. Robbie Bruce from the City of Dallas.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioner.
Good morning.
What I'm really here today for is to propose and ask for permission for Veterans Park. And the plan would be for us to put on some concerts for Public Safety Appreciation Day. And I'm looking at October, 1st of October. I could come back and let you know exact dates and stuff, but we're still working through some of the details with some artists and things like that. But over the past, Dallas has been really good to our Parks and Recreation Department. They let me budget for special events, and then we do have some sponsorships that come in. We've done a couple of free concerts that's been very successful, and then we do some that actually we charge to get in, and those have also been very successful. So basically, that's really what I want to open the City of Dallas Parks and Recreation Department up to working with Vicki, Michael, and trying to get us all put back, trying to get us working together and able to do things. I think the Public Safety Appreciation Day would be an extremely good thing for the city and the county. The city was going to do it earlier this year, and to be honest with you, we just got really busy. The Parks and Recreation Department in the city, there's only a few of us, so we run all the time. But we're getting through the summer, and it's easier for us to do things during the fall. So that is, I guess, really whatever y'all decide, we're going to do it anyway. Or my plans are to do it anyway. I would ask that we can do it at Veterans because it's such a beautiful park and it's a lot larger scale than any place I had to do it. We just had Mother's Finest last month, right, David? And we packed the city with that. I almost had a heart attack because I was like, oh my gosh, where am I going to put all of these people? But it ended up being a flawless event. It went very, very well, and the people really enjoyed it. Other than that, I'll let David speak for just a few minutes because he really is my partner when it comes to the food trucks that we do, any event uptown that we do, and then he's really instrumental in helping me as a partner when we come and do even the concerts over here.
Thank you. Thank you. How are y'all doing today?
Good.
I'll keep it really brief. I appreciate that, Robbie. Kind words. I pretty much just helped to coordinate, facilitate. The City of Dallas has really come a long way in being able to execute really good events. It's taken a short period of time where we've graduated from a few successful food truck events up until we graduated this block party, which was a huge and tremendous success. And we've actually been able to work together to communicate how to schedule not only the event, the concerts, but also the advertising, just the communication. And this partnership has worked real well and has developed over the course of the last, I guess, 2 years. And it's really started to really come together. And we would really like to share that or branch that out with the County Parks and Recreation, just as far as we can just communicate to help, to facilitate. And this event would, it's totally a positive event for the county, for the first responders, and their whole main purpose of this is just to uplift the county, the people in the county that are very important to the citizens, that a lot of time they go without that thank you, that recognition. And so that's our main focus. And the second part of that would be just to work together more. The more you work together with someone, the more you communicate with someone, the better you get at it. And the more you communicate, the better you work together, the more efficient it is, and generally the more successful it is. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
John, have any questions? I'd be glad to answer any questions.
When we talked on the phone, you mentioned the groups that might do the public safety early October event.
Yes, sir. I can tell you that, but I haven't signed contracts with any of them yet. So if you want to know the groups, I'd rather do that in a closed session.
Very well. I think it's important that the city and the county work together on these type of events. And
I do too. It kind of brings me back to I started right out of high school with Paulding County Parks and Recreation, left and went into the corporate world for a while, and then the city asked me to come back, so I came back to the city. But the city and the county, I grew up here, and this is what I love, and I just like to see it have big events and things, and bring people into the county and let them know about the county, the cities, and things that we have go on here that I see other, Woodstock has a very successful concert series. We basically that's what we're looking for. With the city of Dallas, we're going to have a concert series every year. Boyd wants me to do at least 4 per year. But this we discussed a while back with the Safety Appreciation Day, and it's really something I'm passionate about, because I do like Gary. I've known him for a long time in the fire department. I'm actually a paramedic myself, so I've been involved with a lot of that. But it's something I'm passionate about.
As Mr. Justice mentioned, the county after their session went into sponsorships and partnerships, but I understand your cost, you may not be at liberty to state a cost or maybe an average cost.
I can tell you that the cost that we're looking at right now is $38,000.
And we've been able to do our events free, but and at those costs, you're going to have to.
What I would like to do with this event would be any public safety would get in, including Sheriff's Department, Police Department, Fire Department, Metro, anything, any public safety that we have here in the county, and the rest of it would be a minimal cost for tickets. We've been charging, we have a concert this coming weekend, it's the Christian concert, and they're charging $10 a ticket. So that's how I kind of try to balance my budget with, some of them I do for free and some of them I don't.
And you got to kiss Sarah Evans when she came?
I did not. She did hug me, but walked right on by.
I can understand that.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Back when we did go through the recession, depression, we did have to cut out some things, and the public did step up in businesses, and we were able to carry on things. So I appreciate Parks and Recs for that. And then Robbie, thanks for your efforts this summer with your camp.
Oh, thank you.
So I appreciate that, and I say thank you to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
At this time, it's time for public participation on agenda items. We will have Ms. Sudan to speak on the airport.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. What I'd like to speak about is the airport. And Mr. Carmichael spoke during a previous Board of Commissioners meeting as Post 1 Commissioner that the county would benefit from $40,000+ for each round trip provided by commercial service. I believe Mr. Carmichael's opinion was based on a study done on Asheville, North Carolina Airport. That study concluded a flight with 50 passengers per plane will spend an average of $860. That comes to $42,500 per flight. How can this relate to our airport? There are no attractions to draw people to vacation in Paulding County. Where are they going to go to stimulate our economy? I believe this study is misleading to our county. And can you, Mr. Carmichael, justify using this study for Paulding County? And when did Paulding County become a tourist destination? My question is, what are these passengers going to do when they fly in and out of Paulding? How will the revenue be generated in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do? I also would like to know, as of today, how much revenue has the airport passed on to our community? There's zero that's been passed on. And what I'm reading on social media and talking to about people, there's even a little ticker tape thing that says how much revenue's been lost because we haven't had commercial service yet. Well, people don't realize that that money goes back into the airport. It doesn't go out to our schools. It doesn't go out to our parks. It doesn't go to anything but back into their pockets. The money generated, you're depending on is conference centers. I don't know what you think it's going to be. Hotels. I mean, what is it going to be? There is no infrastructure here to generate that income that will go back into our county. And I would like to know. I'd like to know if there has been any revenue at all given into our county. I think it's just a pipe dream set by a few insiders, and it's very misleading to our community. And I'd like to have that record set straight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Discuss action on 2 agenda items. Number 1, appoint Dan Nolan to fill the vacant position on Paulding County Industrial Building Authority with a term ending December 31, 2019. And item number 2, approve electric vehicle pilot program between Paulding County, Georgia, and Georgia Power for the use of Regal Nissan electric cars by the tax assessor's office. Would any of the commissioners like to move that to regular business?
Yeah, I'd like to move the Dan Nolan.
It will move item number 1, the appointment of Dan Nolan, to the regular business. Old business? Old business, we have none. New business, number 1, public hearing for the fiscal year 2018. So we will have our second public hearing, and I would officially like to call the public hearing on the budget, or to open the public hearing on the budget. And we'll start with Ms. Pollard.
Please open. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. Off the page, but I'll work around that. Okay, in the back of the room, first, I want to say that there were a couple of copies of what I'm going to show today. The budget for all funds and a comparison, so a 2016 and 2017 comparison. If anybody didn't get, I've checked a couple of times and there's been one every time still back there, so I didn't make additional copies. But what that was, I'm going to show on the screen, so I'll be glad to get you copies afterwards if there are no. Are there any still back there? There are a couple still back there, so if anybody needs one, they're welcome to one. The budget process for 2018, this is the fiscal year 2018, started in late March. Departments submitted their budgets. We put those together in early May. We had a workshop, as we mentioned earlier, to discuss what was included in those budgets and things that had occurred over the time of the recession and how we were going to get out of that, how we could put back some of the services that we had taken away, and also how we could keep up with growth. So every year, not to mix the two, but over the course of the past couple of years, when the property tax assessments have increased, we rolled that number back to keep that revenue number fairly low. And so there were things that we have done without. So first I'm going to tell you some things. If you look at the 3-page document, that's what I have up here on the screen. There are a couple of items that have that will be changed. I didn't do a revision because that creates confusion, so I'd rather stand here and tell you what they are. And then, so the airport, we had 350 in there. It's actually 325. It was just picked up wrong. So that will be a reduction. In the budget document itself, the district attorney had an investigator. It was an additional investigator that has been, at his request, been removed. We have I'll make sure that I have all of those. A few minor changes, but those are the largest changes that I have at this time. That will be changes from what you see before you today and what you will see on August 8th. So we'll start with the first column, the general fund. That is made up from our M&O. And earlier we had a millage rate that will be set. That's where the 26,600,000 is generated. And then you have other taxes. Over the past few years, we've come through the recession from other revenues because we had the title ad valorem tax, which increased significantly. It's beginning to decline. We have insurance premium tax that increased. We've imposed an increase to permit fees, which will increase revenues. We had some increases this year for fines within the judicial system. Interest rates for investment income, we're beginning to see some amount of income there. And then you have the expense. So I think it's working for me. To me, it's easiest to look at the side-by-side comparison in looking at this. But I'll switch over there so I can look at this stuff. You have a listing of all the departments and what their budgets were in 2017 and what their proposed budget is in 2018. The largest increases that we have are primarily public safety. That's your sheriff's office, the jail. The marshal had a slight decrease. And this is kind of hard to understand because some of them have capital purchases. So we have, within each one of these budget departments, you have personnel who are primarily salary driven. So about 28 million of our general fund budget is to salaries. About 13 million of our general fund budget is for benefits. About 23 million is for operations, so that's your gas, your professional fees, all of what it takes to operate those departments. And then in this budget we have about 2.5 million in capital purchases. One more addition that I have that's not included in this budget that will be that over the past few meetings we've heard a lot about the landfill and what was going on with out there. They have finally been able to put together their cost projections, and the cost of a new scale house, additional scales, renovations that need to be done out there are $3.1 million for this year. So that's to be considered as well. We'll need to put some portion of that, if not all, in the budget. It will likely come from the fund balance that you have in place now. So with that said, I'm going to mention the additional, some of the main expenses that caused additions in this year, and they are the this does put some portion of stormwater back, so that was about $800,000. And as you will recall, last year we approved the salary study. We have the results back of that. That there's $2 million in there for those. That addresses some of the, or it addresses the problem that we've seen people leaving to go to other places. So we're training, then they're moving. We're training around, then they move on to something where they can make more money, either in private or other government. It's been really evident in DOT because you have so many DOT projects coming, so the corporates increased a lot faster. They come back a lot faster than we have. And your lower end workers, so the guys that are on the tractors are the ones that are, you know, they're pretty heavily, they're turnover. We're seeing a lot of turnover with those people. So it includes that. $800 for stormwater, $1 million for new personnel. We had 30 some positions in this, with 10 of those being to the sheriff's office. We have $900,000 in benefit costs that we approved earlier this year in the upcoming budget. And that brings you to a total of $7.28 million increases from 2016 to 2017. If you look at this total here, you'll see that we're not actually asking for an increase, but 5.9 of that 7 million. So we've been able to absorb some of those costs through operations.
And I'm not happy with the 800,000 for stormwater because I feel like we need more than that.
That's correct.
I wanted 1.2 million, and I think we need more than that, but we got to get that back on track.
And it is a combination of personnel. To get started, it's going to be a combination of personnel, outside assistance through other maybe businesses that, you know, RFPs, projects, professional fees, and then the capital. We're going to have to buy a lot of capital equipment to maintain that ourselves. So it will be a process. This just gets us started.
Thank you for that background information. And at this time, I'm going to open the floor up for citizens to come to the podium and to sign up and speak on the fiscal year 2018 Albany County budget. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Betty Millage, and I just have a couple of questions. In reference to the fund balance, I see that you earmarked here that the use of the fund balance was $4 million. My question is that the primary purpose for the use of the fund balance to help offset the shortfall in the general fund? And what is the general amount of fund balance that's usually there?
Good question.
Okay. Yes, if you look into the general fund, we have $2.3 million use of fund balance. What we've done over the past couple of years is try to use our fund balance for capital purchases. So towards the back, you'll see a little more than $2.5 million worth of capital purchases. So most of those would be funded through your fund balance amount. I think you're looking across at the total. So the total budgeted amount of fund balance is $3.8 million. That is comprised of, one, we have some 911 fees. And as you know, we're building a 911 center. So partially that's paid for with SPLOST dollars. And it's also some of that cost is being paid for with the 911 fees. And we also have some special courts funds. So within the court system, they accumulate funds through fines and fees, and then they're able to use those funds. A lot of times they don't accumulate fast enough to be able to purchase what they need to within 1 year. So those will sit there, and then it will become a use of fund balance. Most of that is in the jail fund, actually. And then we also have the SPLOST funds, which are accumulated over time, and then you have large projects. We'll have large DOT projects. Our public safety SPLOST dollars that for the SPOS we just finished up have almost been all utilized. We have SPOS dollars for recreation and for transportation, and so some of those projects will be spent using funds that have accumulated for that particular purpose.
So that's kind of a general practice?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other citizens wishing to weigh in and speak?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Sue Wilkins, and I just have a couple questions. Why doesn't the 2018 draft budget reflect the airport allocation, unless I'm reading it incorrectly?
On page 39, within the non-departmental budget, there's an airport authority, and it's listed as 350, and that's what I mentioned earlier that needs to be 325.
Oh, okay, so I'm looking at this that says airport.
Right, it's in that $7.8 million non-departmental amount.
Okay, I'll go back and check it.
Okay.
I obviously missed that, so thank you. And how much is it again this year?
It will be $325,000.
Okay.
It's in the published at 350.
Okay, great, thank you. Also, there seems to be a lot of misinformation and confusion among the residents regarding the money that the county and specifically the schools would receive from the airport if our airport goes commercial. Since this is the budget hearing, I thought it was an appropriate time to ask for clarification of that. So exactly what type of revenue would the county and our school district realize if our airport goes commercial? I'm not asking for an amount, but just what type, because there is a lot of confusion.
I would direct you toward, it's a little dated now, but it was done by the Georgia Department of Transportation in 2012, and you can find it on YouTube. It's about a 10-minute video called Georgia Airports Mean Business. So that'll tell you a lot about, tell any of us a lot about jobs that are generated at general aviation airports, and products that are sold or services that are rendered at an airport are just like any other business in the county as far as the requirement for property taxes and for sales taxes on products and services that they provide. So we would get our 3% if SPLOST is in effect at the time. So.
Okay, well, I am referring to in the event the airport goes commercial, because that's what the big buzz is about, controversy, as to where the airport revenue would actually go, and what revenue the county and the school district would receive.
It would be ticket sales, and there would be the same county tax that if you went to Home Depot and bought a lawnmower, that you'd pay on that. You'd have the county taxes imposed on the ticket prices.
So the schools would receive their 1 cent SPLOST money on sales tax.
Correct.
Okay. So would the airport give them anything beyond that?
I'm not really sure what you're searching for, and I'm not sure I can answer it if you know, the taxes generated, the sales tax, would, to my knowledge, be put into effect just like they are other businesses around Paulding County.
So that's it, Ram? You know, there's a lot of commercial proponents are claiming that our schools would be in much better shape if we had a commercial airport. And some that I've spoken with are under the impression that they would the school district would actually receive money directly paid to them by the airport, from the airport, and not, you know, through way of SPLOST or ad valorem or anything like that, but just given to them. And I just want that clarified.
I've not heard that, or I don't have that understanding.
Okay.
I'll say just a couple things on it. As far as taxes are concerned, and I may be answering your question wrong, general aviation airport or commercial airport, you have ad valorem taxes. And whether that plane is parked at the airport or that plane is parked in the barn at your house or on the dirt runway at your house, if you've got it registered here in the county, we're gonna collect ad valorem tax on that plane. The property at the airport is owned by the government, and that property there and a little bit around it that actually is owned by the IVA does not pay property tax. The government does not pay property tax. So you've got the ad valorem tax that you're going to collect on the plane. Naturally, you've got any kind of sales tax of anything that's sold out there, which right now is your fuel, and you can go in there and get a free box of popcorn, so you're not paying taxes on your popcorn. But the fuel that's there is you're taxed on that. As far as property tax, I said there's no property tax paid, so therefore if somebody leases something, there's not any property tax paid on that property unless they put something on it and there's a personal property tax paid, okay, in a different way. As far as, and I may be giving you more than what you're looking for,
no.
But as far as what's going on out there with commercial, the deal that's going on with commercial, they've got a contract, the airport authority's got a contract with someone that's basically going to be keeping 97.5% and going to be given 2.5%, 2.5 cents out of every dollar to the airport authority. That money cannot come to the county because that money has to stay at the airport. So it will stay at the airport for what the airport authority chooses to do with how they choose to do it. I mean, that's their job. But that 2.5% out of a dollar will not come to the county, will not come to the county for us to put in this budget, will not come to the county for the school system to use or fire tax or anything else. It has to stay with the airport authority because it's collected as something that they collect, they bring income on.
And what can they do with that money?
They have to basically, you know, they have to put it back into the airport in some form or fashion.
Okay.
And I don't know all the restrictions or non-restrictions that they have, but they have to put that money back into the airport. So that money, we would not see that. People talk about the 2.5%, but that 2.5% goes to them. They keep it, it goes back into the airport. It does not come into what you may call a tax system, whether it's school system or anything else. As far as anything else, it would be anything that's sold. And I guess the other thing that you talk about around things is just like anything else. Private businesses choose to come in, then they're paying their taxes, however that is. I don't know if I've answered your question. But
No, you have. So basically, it's through ad valorem and SPLOST that the county and schools would benefit.
right, which that happens now.
Right. True.
Right.
Okay. I just, wanted to get perfectly clear on that because unfortunately a lot of people aren't. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens wishing to speak? Going once?
I'm going. I'm going. Kathy Helms again. I think y'all know me by now. I just want to say that the budget, the millage rate, the school tax, the BOC, it's all tied together. Yes, we are recovering from a recession. However, there are a lot of people that are still struggling. What I fear with these tax increases is that you're going to have more foreclosures. There's going to be more people that lose their houses. The properties will be bought up by investors, which will then result in possibly more Section 8 housing, which is going to put more of a burden on this county. So a tax increase, I just got word that the Board of Education passed their millage rate, did not roll it back by a vote of 6-1. Therefore, our taxes, no matter what you do, are going to go up because of the Board of Education right now, no matter how you vote on the millage rate. We've already got a tax increase in place because those assessments, property assessments, work the same way for the Board of Education as they work here. Exactly the same. And understand, there's a little bit of unfairness when it comes to the assessments and the millage rate because the assessors base their assessments on recent sales. Yet, they can only assess the exterior of the building and the property and the buildings that are on there. They cannot go inside and see what improvements you've done. Is that, do I understand that correctly? Is Jamie still here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
We go in houses all the time when requested by the property owner.
When requested by the...
For leaking basements, roofs, foundation
Understandable,
issues, termites.
but generally the assessments are based on the property and what sits on the property, not what's inside the structures that are on.
We're not valuing furniture no matter.
Right, exactly. Or improvements that, let's say that somebody's put down hardwood flooring instead of carpet, but they did that 15 years ago. Okay, you don't use that as part of the assessment.
That would possibly play into it.
It could, but what I'm saying is that it plays a big deal into the resale value and the value of those houses as they're sold. Any improvements, painting the exterior will add value to the house on the resale value. It won't change the assessment. So what I'm saying is there's a conundrum there. So while we base our assessments on sales, property sales, the actual assessment has absolutely zero to do with the actual value of your house, except what the tax assessor deems. It does not mean that's the sale value. If you want to appeal, then your property taxes, it won't affect the resale value of your house. Your house will sell for what the market demands, independent of what the tax assessor's valuation is. So, again, I just want to make sure that we understand that we don't create a bigger block of citizens that become more dependent, not only on federal, state, but local government too. And I think law enforcement will agree with that. Thank you.
I'd like to, go ahead. I'm sorry, excuse me. I'd like to say just a couple things. I think when Tabitha started off this morning at our 9:30 meeting, talked about some properties going up, some properties actually going down, and some properties staying close to the same. And I did get notice just a little while ago that the school board did pass theirs. I think it was a 6-1 vote, so 6-4 and 1 against it. So that 18 point whatever mills, pushing 19 mills, that will be a tax increase. But we talked about this last year when it came to this subject, and the bottom line is this. And some people called me afterwards because last year was done a rollback, and I was one of the proponents last year that said, you know, if you look back in history, we don't need to dip down below a 6.5. Now, I don't mind village rate hearings, budget hearings. That's the process that we have, and that's what we're up here for, and we need to hear from the public. I know that at the end of the day, not everybody's going to be made happy. I know last year that when it was a rollback, which I didn't think that was the wisest thing for us to do for our county as a whole, and for the services that people were asking for that cost money, and for some services that were cut during a time that needed cut, or maybe during a time that maybe I didn't agree with cutting, we need to bring some of those back. But at the end of the day, last year we did a rollback. You still had people at the end of the day, even with our rollback, you still had people that their taxes decreased because of the combination of value or whatever. You still had people that they stayed pretty close to the same, and you still had a big chunk of people, a big, that their taxes went up. And so then they called us. And basically, I said it again this morning, and it's not that I don't want to hear from folks, because I want to hear from you. You can come back again tonight, 6 o'clock, and we can talk about some of the same things when we talked about at 9:30 this morning. But that 6.5 mill rate that we're talking about, or 6.18, or if it's rolled back to 5.7, kind of equals out to somewhere around 20 to 22% of your total tax. And when Tabitha put that chart up earlier, and we were talking about, was it $200,000 house?
Yes, sir.
And we were talking about $64. That's what we're talking about. So no matter what we do, and I don't know what this board's going to do, that's what these hearings are for, budget, millage rate, and we're going to have more, and that's what our job is to do. We're to hear from you. But no matter what this board does, at the end of the day, no matter which one of those it is, we may make a decision to not have some of the services that I feel like y'all are asking for. I think Wayne earlier this morning mentioned the Sheriff's Department, and the Sheriff's Department is in this. The fire tax takes care of the fire department, but the Sheriff's Department is in this, and he said, you know, want to make sure we take care of the Sheriff's Department. Well, no matter what we do, we're going to get calls when that final tax bill comes out, and we're going to be said that you raised our taxes. I've got kids in the school system. I've got grandkids in the school system. School system's not my job. They have a job to do. But the fact of the matter is, taxes are going to go up depending on where your values are at, up or down from last year, according to what the school system just did. And there'll be people that'll call at the end of the day when it's all said and done and say, why did you raise my taxes? And I just want to remind everybody that we're dealing with 20 or 22% of the tax, of the total tax that you pay. And there's a lot of it that we're not dealing with in this particular situation. So, and through this process that we started months ago, and this is the chairman's proposed budget, but we all got in a room, department heads, and we had a few citizens there and commissioners, and we talked about the different issues that we're facing today. And we talked about what happened back in 08, 09, when things finally went down and some decisions had to be made. And it doesn't matter whether us up here agree with all of those decisions or agree with some of them. But I will tell you, when you look at that chart from 08 and you see the taxes collected in 07, 08 versus what were collected later and what we worked on, a lot of things were cut. And we do have some things that we have to put in place. I mean, and like I said, I mentioned earlier, stormwater, 800,000 is a drop in the bucket. Should start off at 1.2, 1.5 million, and it's got to go from there. And stormwater doesn't mean anything to most people out there until you call and say, well, that's a stormwater issue. And then we've got some meaning behind it because it affects you. So everybody has what they have. Kids in school don't have kids in school. Grandkids don't have grandkids. Interested in parks, not interested in parks. Love the police department because we need them when they come out. And the fire department, thank you Lord for them coming out. But we're tasked with to do a budget that we can put the things in place, the services, number one, that we're responsible for putting in place, period, cut and dry, and then services that the county as a whole are demanding or asking or calling about or whatever. And I know it's a tough process. My tax bill shows that I'm going to pay more this next year, and that doesn't excite me either. Nobody wants to do that, but so we'll go through the process, and again, we'll have the millage rate hearing again tonight at 6, and then I think we'll see each other again to talk about some more issues on August 8th. And we want to hear from you. We want you to call us and talk to us about it, but we did spend a good bit of one day in this room, broke down in tables with department heads and county employees, looking at the issues that we have, the issues that department heads are having in their departments, where they're lacking, and we looked at where can we cut and what do we need to do. And I think there is a difference between a need and a want, and right now we do have a good bit of needs. And at the end of the day, this board may vote to set the millage wherever, and we may not be able to meet all those needs. But the 5 of us will get together and we'll do what we can do. And I just don't want all of it to come on the backs of the employees. And I want to make sure that you get the services that you're looking for when that phone rings in September, October, January, February, or whatever. And I'd like us to, you know, we've had some good things happen. I'd like to make sure we can continue to head in that direction and provide the services that I think are needed and the services that y'all would like to see. So.
Well said, and I'd like to echo our greatest asset is our employees. We have 850 employees. There has not been a study done since 1999 to address inadequacies. So look forward to applying some of the salary survey results to our employees. The stormwater, you know, obviously because it was reduced out of the budget 8 years ago, it's been neglected. And we have the potential of getting fines for not having adequate stormwater provisions. And I could have one of our staff talk about the calls we've got where stormwater piping has just been totally crushed because of corrosion. And I could go into other things. One other thing that I would like to, I appreciate Commissioner Pownell mentioned the ad valorem tax at the airport, because I overlooked it, but in response to Ms. Wilkins, just a small, this is a general aviation comment, just a small mid-sized jet, and $10 million is not a high number, brings in the same tax revenue as 50 $200,000 homes. So just to have, you know, one of those airplanes parked at our airport is a benefit as far as tax revenue. Any other citizens or?
Okay, let me, can I address what you just said? Okay, it brings in the tax revenue, but it does.
They won't be able to hear you unless you have the mic. It won't really be on the tape.
You said just one of those planes would bring in the tax revenue. Those planes can be there now. There's nothing stopping that $10 million plane from being at our airport today. Commercial service is scheduled passenger service, not general aviation. That's the difference, and I think that's the point that Sue was trying to make. Scheduled passenger service will not increase our tax base unless a plane is housed at the airport, unless it lives at our airport. Other than that, there's only landing fees and tax on tickets.
Well, that's exactly what I was addressing. I don't know, you misunderstood my comment.
Well, what I'm saying is that right now, today, if these lawsuits would go away, if the 139 went away, we could have some of those $10 million planes. Thank you.
I've been asking Dave to buy one and put it out there. I really don't understand the difference. I think he's got it in his barn.
And I've been asking Lou. Any other public comments?
Dave, I'll say something. This is my second time through the budget process. You mentioned this earlier, so I almost didn't comment, but I wanted to voice my appreciation for it. So that everybody knows, this is it says on the, right here, Chairman's proposed budget. And it does come from Dave's office. And Dave works, and I know Tabitha does a lot on that too. This year was a lot different than last year. Dave asked for input from me specifically on some items. We talked about stuff that was budgeted already when he took office, and things that we budgeted in the future. We talked about, I was included specifically on the stormwater stuff, as we talked about looking at bringing that back. And it was, Dave, you mentioned it kind of in passing, but I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate the fact that you, in preparing your budget, were willing to hear from the post commissioners. I know last year it's not a luxury that we received last year, and I wasn't here before that, so I can't speak to that. But I do appreciate that, and I hope that we'll continue that as we move forward through I know we share the same terms. As we move forward through our term, I look forward to let's take that same approach in future years.
Thank you. Any other citizens wishing to speak? Thank you, Nancy.
I've been sitting there, not wanting to speak, but when you guys talk about your budgets and going up, you're saying, oh, it's only about $64 a pay, increase on your taxes. I've been talking to several people around this county just at maintaining the values, the millage rate right now. The majority of the people I've talked to, their taxes went up from $300 to $400 this year. So it's kind of misleading to say, oh, it's only going to be 62 bucks. No, even if you just maintain it, everything's going up because of the assessments, $300 to $400. And that's why people are so upset. And then especially when you see the proposed budget and you talk about the increases of what you're proposing and what you need and how much more you're asking for. Everybody's right out here. I mean, I see the need, but I also see the need of the citizens. And sitting here hearing both sides, right now, if you roll the millage rate back, you're probably going to upset your employees. But if you don't roll your millage rate back, you're going to upset your citizens. So who do you want to upset, your citizens or your employees? That's all I want to say.
Make sure you sign in, because we want you on record.
I'd like to say something concerning Nancy's comments, and I agree with you, Nancy. But I didn't take the $200,000 house and the $64 for granted. It's just like Julie going to Walmart, and I said, well, what did that trip cost us? And I'm thinking, could you not have got out of there for 150 bucks? Did you have to spend whatever? And, we kind of go over it, well, we needed this and this and this and this and this, and I get it. I really do get it. In fact, I get it more than y'all could even imagine how much I get it. All right? In my view, just because I sit up here, I don't want you to think that I got an easy road, because I can tell you it's not. And we look at the budget each and every week. And I can't wait till the every other week payday comes. So I get it. I can promise you I get it. At 54 years old, I get it. I want you to know it. All I was saying, and Nancy, I understand when you talk to somebody at $300 or $400. And when I talk on a $200,000 house at $64, $65, and I quote to you that it's somewhere between 20 and 22% of the whole budget, 5 times that $64 is $328, $320. So I get the $300 to $400 increase. I just want it clear that this is what we're dealing with. At the end of the day, no matter what we do, I will expect, I will receive, I will answer, And I will talk to you about the tax increase, because we don't control it all. Not throwing anything else out on the school board, but they did what they did with almost 19 meals this morning, which is 3 times what we're talking about this morning. And so I say that now. I don't want employees upset with me. I don't want the community upset with me. But I know at the end of the day, everybody's not going to be happy. Even if we roll it back, there's still going to be people, even on this portion of it, when you throw it all in, the assessments, which they have a job to do, there's still going to be people that can get, even with the rollback, even on this portion of it, which is about 21.5%, there'll still be people that will have a tax increase on that portion, even if we roll it back. So I just want us over the next, we don't have a lot of time between now and August 8th, but we got a lot of decisions to make. And I think a lot of good things have come out. We talked about the salary study that we did. This is my 7th year here, and I have asked for that since I got here. We need to do a salary study. Why? I've heard it from people. Why? I've looked into other counties. I've compared it. And you can't fix anything that you have if you don't know how you need to fix it. So we did that, and I think that was the correct thing to do for the citizens, for the employees, and even with the salary study, not all the employees are going to be happy. At the end of the day, some of them may have been getting where they should have been getting. Some of them may have been a little bit shy. May have been a couple that were getting a little bit more. I don't know all the 100% breakdown, but I've seen it. And at the end of the day, not everybody's going to be happy with it. And I can tell you, when I get home tonight at my dinner table, everybody's not going to be happy. I don't know who's not going to be, but I can tell you, not everybody's going to be happy. But this is the process we do. I actually enjoy the process. I love the process, and I love hearing from y'all. And no matter what we do, when you call and you give us holy heck afterwards, I'll accept your call, I'll talk to you, and I'll just sit there and wish I could have done whatever I could have done to give everybody what they needed and make sure that we were all taken care of. And my hope and prayer is that at the end of this process, that no matter what happens, everybody will be taken care of. And that I went through the recession, depression. I say that because the recession depressed me. And I went through it, and I know how it is. And my family hasn't come out of it. So I do get it. So I appreciate everything y'all bring to us. I look forward to 6 o'clock tonight, Village, hearing again. Hopefully y'all and other folks will be here. We do want to. It's not because we have to. We do want to hear from you, and I appreciate it. Nancy, thank you.
Dave, can I say a word?
Yes.
So Todd, I'm the airport director and everybody's upset with me. My mom and dad sitting over there, Daddy called me the other day and a military jet flew by low overhead and he was complaining. I said, just call the airport. So, I want to set the record straight on one issue concerning fuel tax, because Sue's question, I think might have been missed by the way it was answered. I want to make sure we're all dealing with the same facts. So when commercialization was first proposed in Paulding County, that was 2012 and 2013. On November 8th of 2014, the FAA passed a ruling that fuel ad valorem tax had to stay at the airport. Now, and I think that might be where you're headed with your question. And this has been very controversial since. Clayton County right now is fighting for $18 million in school tax that they're losing because the Atlanta airport is actually in Clayton County, and Clayton County was benefiting to the tune of something like $18 million in fuel sales tax from the airport that was being used in the school system. And I think there are 7 or 8 cities actually in Clayton County with school systems, and they were all benefiting multi-million dollars apiece. So the FAA passed this rule in 2014. They gave airports until 2017, December 8th of 2017, which has just expired, to correct what they felt was a misappropriation of funds. And so this is a very controversial topic, but the way the rules sit today for fuel tax, which is the biggest single tax on a commercial airport, that tax does in fact have to stay at the airport, and how that would benefit the county is indirect. We talked about the $325,000 in county tax that's going to supplement or subsidize the airport, and there may be additional funds from time to time that go in matching funds for grants that have been particularly in the past prior to the IGA. And so kind of the best that the county could hope for from a fuel sales tax standpoint is a break-even standpoint. So the money that we are currently putting into the airport could then be diverted to schools and so forth. But fuel tax is a very controversial topic that's being discussed nationally right now. And so statements, Commissioner Carmichael, that you might have made in 2013, 2012, those have actually been superseded by events, by changes in FAA policy and tax policy and so forth. And so the real answer is you kind of have to wait and see how this national discussion that's taking place, because this is something that affects all of your major airports, because fuel sales is one of the dominant pieces of commerce that takes place at these airports, and it will have an effect on our local budget here if and when, should we ever get all of our issues resolved and move forward with commercialization, which might be many years in the future. The tax laws at that time may look very different than how they look today. So I would ask that we not hold us accountable to statements that might have been made under an old set of tax law, that we make sure we understand what the current tax policy might be, and understand that a national debate is taking place on how that might resolve itself, because there are counties far bigger than ours that are impacted far greater than we are, that are watching this very, very closely and trying to get the FAA to reconsider this airport-only use of fuel tax money. So I hope that throws a whole lot of mud on a very muddy topic.
I greatly appreciate the clarification. And you are a citizen also.
I am a citizen.
Me again. Actually, I was not aware of that. So that's good to know. So actually that is rather disappointing to know, but I wish I could repeat what you said verbatim, but you made reference to the county, the airport giving back to the county money to offset our taxes that were, what was that you said, and can you explain that further, please?
Okay, so the discussion earlier, the question was on this 350,000 that was actually 325, because that number goes down every year in accordance with the IGA. So last year it was 350,000. This year it's going to be 325,000. When that agreement was put in place in 2014, the assumption was that the county can decrease over a 10-year period the funding that goes to the airport, because there's going to be revenue that's being generated from commercial operations. Well, that hasn't happened, obviously. And so at some point, right along now, at some point we're going to see that the airport can no longer meet its budget, because the amount of money that's being subsidized by county tax money going into the airport for operating the airport is going to cross over what the airport can generate, and we're going to have a budget shortfall. So the plan at one time had been that had commercial service come, then the county would not have to pay anything. The airport would be self-sufficient. So without commercial service, the airport likely will not be self-sufficient in direct revenues. But if to use Todd's and David's example, if we can get a lot of general aviation traffic to come to a now peaceful airport where everybody wants to be, and we can generate our tax base from that source, then that too would offset the subsidies that the county is putting into operating and having an airport, because the ad valorem tax generated by property is also a benefit to the county. So the whole tax discussion is a very, very complicated discussion, and I didn't want to misrepresent that should we go commercial, somehow magically the schools get millions of dollars, because that in fact is a national topic of discussion right now. Does that answer?
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is it's due to the airport possibly becoming self-sufficient that would save the county money.
Potentially.
Or at the end of the 10-year IGA contract, which I believe we have 6 more years to go, not that the airport is actually contributing money to the county in any way out of generosity or any other way but ad valorem tax with airplanes you might recruit to be registered there, or
at that point it's just like any other property.
Supporting businesses or
right.
whatever. Okay, right. Thank you, just want to make sure.
While we're talking, I always enjoy hearing from Nancy Hollishead. She's one of my favorite people, and I tell her often she keeps me in line when I get out of line. And so it's my turn actually to get you back in line. The county employees are citizens. You can't separate difference between the two when we say you're going to make the employee mad or you're going to make the citizen mad, because they too are citizens here in the county position. Okay?
You handled her quite nicely.
I very seldom get that opportunity.
Any other citizens wishing to speak today? Somebody's running.
I am, because I'm trying to hurry because it's lunchtime. Okay, just really quick, I was asked just a few minutes ago, and I can't answer that question. Are the results from the salary, because we did a salary study, did we not? Are those results available for the public, or are they somewhere? Are we going to hear about it? That's all.
Well, we have a man that can answer that more clearly. I think the answer is it's confidential for a while. You could expect the reasons why you wouldn't want that to get out.
Morning. Morning. Great question, and just to kind of respond more specific to the budget thing, I'm going to try to answer your question. The $2 million that we're requesting to allocate for that is we have 2 components of the salary study. One is we want to update, reestablish, clean up job classification system. Basically, we have every department has a series of jobs. You have a hierarchy of the jobs. You have that throughout the county. We want to clean that up. We haven't done it in 17 years. We want to be able to compare apples to apples in terms of what we pay, say, a sheriff's deputy relative to firemen. Where do they set apples to apples? We want to clean that up. So you do that, you make some adjustments in terms of the salary study there. Okay, we've got some people, somebody made the reference earlier, you've got some issues where you may have some people that are underclassified, okay, and have been for some time. We need to make adjustments there. We've got some people who are about where they're supposed to be. We've got some people that are overclassified. But you take them, we put them on a scale. The scale that we're proposing with the $2 million is approximately 3% above the current market. What you look at when you try to do this is, well, we've got our situation, where do we sit relative to our peers? Are we lagging our peers? Are we meeting our peers? Are we ahead of our peers? And based on that, what do we want to do in the future? We know from the results of the study that, yes, we're lagging our peers. Proposal of $2 million is to try to clean the classification part up, also get some distribution based on seniority, put people on a nice clean scale that is about 3% above market. Excellent point. Is everybody going to be thrilled? No. We all think we're underpaid. No matter what you do, where you work, right? Fair enough. That's conceptually what we've got going on. How it affects every single employee, I could talk about. We could keep them where they are, all the way to 3% above market that we're proposing. That's 850 employees, 850 scenarios. Plus one scenario for 97% of market, one for 98% of market, one for that. We can talk about every individual all day. but it has been presented to the boards as far as conceptually what we'd like to do. Put folks at 3% above market, set our class income system 3% above market. To do that, implementing, I think we talked around October, November, would take about $2 million this year. And once we get to that point, that we have agreement on a number, we have agreement to proceed, that's when I'm sitting down with department heads and saying, this is where you sit with the proposals, this is where it means for, what it means for each and every employee, implementation date, and if we have issues or concerns about some specific classification issues that did come up further, we're going to continue to address them and figure them out. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Brian.
All right.
You know, it might also be added that no matter how much the increase or raise the employees get, the commissioners don't participate in that. We cannot vote ourselves a raise. Okay?
We are underpaid.
We are.
Other citizens wishing to participate? Going once, going twice. 3 strikes and you're out. I will declare this public hearing closed. And we'll move on to new business item number 2. Discuss action to receive the fiscal year 2018 Federal Aviation Administration and Georgia Department of Transportation funding for Paulding Northwest Atlanta Airport. Thank you for staying around so long, Mr. Tibbetts.
Thank you all. I believe y'all have had distributed to you the letter that comes from Ms. Comer every year that says what the intentions for the Georgia DOT are as they manage the airport improvement program on behalf of the FAA for all of the general aviation airports in Georgia. So this year they are proposing that in addition to our $150,000 in federal funds that we automatically receive every year, that we receive in state funds $308,334 to be applied toward the wildlife perimeter fence. This would be 75-25 money. And again, this is a reinstatement of the funds from last year. And our local match on that would be $108,333. Which we would propose to come out of the Paulding County Airport Authority General Fund, primarily from the funds that are being reimbursed under the FY17 grant. So in other words, we will take our FY17 reimbursements for projects already completed, and we will apply that to be our matching funds for these funds for FY18. And then the second increment that they're proposing to give us is $400,000 to be used for the general aviation terminal area expansion, grading, and drainage project. This is what we call the pipeline project, if you've heard me refer to it that way. And our local match would be $133,333, which again we've got budgeted in our general account from the Paulding County Airport Authority, thanks to the reimbursement, the payback of funds that we have spent in the past for other things from the FY17 funds. So the combination of FY17, FY18 puts us revenue neutral and allows us to move forward with wildlife fence and the drainage and grading project for our phase 1 of the terminal area expansion program. So happy to answer any questions that you might have about the proposed FY18 Airport Improvement Program grants managed by Georgia Department of Transportation using a combination of FAA funds and Georgia airport funds. Okay.
Questions, comments?
I think you answered the local funds. Y'all got that covered.
We believe we did, yes.
Airport Authority.
Yes. Now, let me say, just so I don't want there to be any misconceptions, both of these are phase 1 of projects that will cost more than what's being allocated by the Georgia DOT and the FAA and local funds. So these do not complete either of these projects. These get us a long way down the road on each of the projects, but there will be additional grant funding that we'll be working to secure in later fiscal years as we move forward. These are both ongoing projects.
Is there not on the wildlife perimeter fencing, is there not enough funds there to complete that?
Not to complete the entire fence. We're talking about roughly 3.5 miles of fencing, and this fencing is 10-foot high wildlife game fence, so it's very expensive fence, and it has to be built to Georgia DOT requirements. So it's more than just the pasture fence around your backyard.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, in the past, we had talked, and of course that was when times were harder. So I think that number was a little bit less. Maybe.
It was never for 100%,
okay,
securing 100% of the property in one grant. It was always incremental.
Okay.
And let me give you a very specific example. We would not want to spend money to fence in the general aviation terminal expansion area project because we're going to be bringing equipment in to do grading right there. So you would be tearing down fencing that you just built. So you really need to do that project first and then do the fencing after that project is complete. Otherwise, you're going to have some inefficiencies due to phasing of the projects.
Mr. Tibbs, you said phase 1 and it's a total of 3 miles of fence. How much will phase 1 cover that 3 miles?
We don't have the bids back. We have a design now. We were able to complete the design, and we're waiting on final approval from the FAA, but we're going to get that probably in the next 30 to 60 days. And then we'll be able to get some engineering estimates on what that design, that location, that approval is going to run. Right now, the back of the envelope says we can probably cover the entire south of the property. So it's going to get us maybe 50 to 75% there, but that's really a rough guess right now until we get some true engineering estimates of cost. And it will be a competitive bid, so of course it'll depend on how aggressive our bidders are, like on any capital project.
Kind of like the two ends of the runway and the far side. Close.
The goal would be to start where the current fencing ends on the northwest side, extend around the end of the western border of the property, and get as far across the south as we could for the funding that we've got, which would really leave us about 1/3 of the property that would have to be fenced, and that's the area where the terminal area expansion project is going.
The deer probably won't know how to get around it anyway.
Believe it or not, this still does a lot for us from an animal control standpoint, because even though it's not 100%, if you think about your federal highways, you don't have fencing that encloses the whole interstate highway system. You know, there's always, anytime you've got an on-ramp, off-ramp, creeks, so forth, you've got ways for the animals to still enter into the property. But the more fencing you got, the better protection you have. So this would go a long ways towards protecting our property. And it isolates us from the Paulden Forest, which is, that's the wild, wild west over there. So there's a lot of animals come from that direction.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Thanks so much.
I'll stay close by this.
New business item number 3, discuss action to release the Federal Aviation Administration grant money for reimbursement of the environmental assessment and wetlands mitigation to the Paulding County Airport Authority as soon as received from the Georgia Department of Transportation.
This one's been discussed at great length. Probably not a whole lot more than I can add, but I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all may have concerning the release of the grant funding that was approved for FY17.
I think we're good for right now.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Okay. And I thank especially Commissioner Pownell and Carmichael for going down to the FAA with me about a week ago. It was a week ago yesterday. We had a very positive meeting with the FAA, and I think we got a lot of questions answered and cleared up, and I know you gentlemen in particular were able to ask anything that you wanted to of them. So I appreciate y'all going with me and supporting that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
New business item number 4 is the consent agenda item on Mr. Nolan, appoint Dan Nolan to fill the vacant position on the Paulding County Industrial Building Authority with a term ending December 31st, 2009. And Commissioner Collette, I had no idea that a phone number or email wasn't given to you. I thought that I had done that, so obviously you wanted to contact the gentleman.
I would like to, yes.
Do you have a resume for Mr. Nolan?
Yes,
I asked Mr. Nolan for a resume, and he's been in business on his own for 20 years, and he hasn't had to apply for a job. So that's why I referred everyone to LinkedIn, and I believe Ms. White was able to get some bullet points off of there. But we'll take care of whatever information is needed. Other questions?
Yes.
That's the conclusion of the regular session. And we appreciate everyone being here. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session for real estate, pending, and potential litigation.
I'll make the motion.
Motion for Commissioner Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We will try to get it done so we can have a planning and zoning meeting. I didn't know it had been canceled, but I'm told that there is no P&Z meeting today. No application, so no need to have one. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. We've got a quorum and now quorum plus. Now everybody. So no action was taken in the closed session. And we look forward to 6 o'clock tonight, seeing everyone. And happy birthday, Travis.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.